Hey there. So today I wanted to talk about a little bit of a subject that is personal for me, that a lot of people deal with, but not a lot of people talk about. So I spent more than 20 years in emergency services. I worked as a paramedic. I started when I was quite young, and I left a few years ago due to injury. I injured my back. And so I have, I guess, spoken out quite a bit about healthcare, and I am quite critical of it, mostly because I love it. And I think that it's something that everybody deserves to have good quality healthcare. And it's something that has really suffered right across Canada. I think that the issues that we have in healthcare are right across the board. And I think a big part of the problem with healthcare is more to do with management than it has to do with the employees. And here's what I mean by that. There is something that is called managerial vindictiveness. It's a real thing. You can look it up. And it's when a relationship between an employee and a manager becomes completely toxic. And it's because that person in management is a little bit of a narcissist, a little bit big on themselves, and they tend to chip away at their employees. They chip away at the person's belief in their ability to be able to do the job, and chips away at their self-confidence. And over time, that takes a toll. And I know in emergency services, at least in paramedicine, that not a lot of people will say that that's what caused their PTSD or will even realize it. But I do think that in a lot of cases, that's how it starts. The things that we see and the things that we do, they definitely take an effect, especially over time. It's a big accumulation of all the things, and not necessarily all things that people would say were terrible or awful or, oh my God, how did you look at that? It's not always that. A lot of times it's just about the little old lady who died alone in her bed, or the man that was out in the yard chopping wood and suffered an injury or a heart attack, and his wife found him. It's about those kinds of things as well. It's not necessarily all about the things like you see on TV. Sometimes it's about the smaller things that build up over time. But sometimes, and I'm willing to bet a lot of times, at least part of the reason that people end up with PTSD is not necessarily from the workload, but more often than not, it comes from the management. It comes from that person who's just a little bit of a narcissist, who gets the digs in, who disciplines when there's not really any reason to discipline, who gets the digs in when you're sitting around the crew room and everybody has a good laugh at someone else's expense. But over time, that takes a toll. It chips away at people's self-confidence. It chips away at people's ability to see themselves as a good first responder. It's a toxicity that just eats away at people. And over time, it's a big part of the reason why people who are very experienced in the job and have been there for a very long time just walk away. They walk away because they can't take one more day of that bullshit. They're done. They don't want to deal with it anymore. And not enough people are sitting back and asking why people suffer from PTSD. I get that there are things that paramedics and firefighters and police officers, there's things that they see every day that play a part in PTSD. But there's another part to it as well, and it's the part that nobody talks about. It's that toxicity that comes from management. Not enough people are paying attention to that, and nobody can say anything about it for fear that they're going to be in trouble for it. So they take it and they take it and they take it until they can't take it anymore and they walk away. Or something worse happens. There's been a lot of that over the years as well. So we might as well just call a spade a spade. It's not always the things that are said and the things that are done on calls. Sometimes it's about the things that are said and done after the calls that are the biggest problem. You know, the little comment about something that you did that maybe they didn't agree with. Just enough to make you question yourself or to chip away at your self-confidence. And over time, that builds up. And not enough people are paying attention to that. And we lose a lot of really good people because of it. So the next time that someone that runs one of these services, whether it's emergency services in ambulance, fire, police, it's in nursing or in a nursing home or in some situation like that where people are caring for others, when people start walking away, then others should start to really take a notice of not just the calls that that person had been on or the situations that that person had to deal with, but what happened afterwards? What was said to them after that? How was that managed? And I think when you glean the answers from that, a lot of people will stop and realize that managerial vindictiveness is a big part of why people walk away. And until we start dealing with that and calling it out, it's not going to change. Those people are going to continue to be bullies, and they're going to continue to chip away at the self-confidence of the people that are taking on these jobs. And eventually they are going to break them. They might not do it to everybody, but they'll always pick one or two. And it's just a constant wearing. And over time, it all adds up. Managerial vindictiveness, it's a real thing. And it's something that needs to be looked at more closely because not a lot of people are paying attention to it, but it's something that affects quite a few. Have a great day.